One of the darkest eras in American history is when we degraded the rights of people into the rights of property, looking down on slaves as if they had no future and no purpose but to bolster the business of the reigning man. However, this horrible mentality would not last, for the American people became strong and we took a stand to reclaim the human identity of those we deemed as slaves. America is with a heavy heart that I inform you that we must once again advocate to reclaim the rights of people that have been disregarded and treated as property by the private detention facilities that are infesting America. Hello, my name is Tyler Bachmeyer. The editorial of First Steps in Shutting Private Prisons makes an emotionally compelling argument for the extermination of private detention facilities. The New York Times editorial board, who authored the editorial, structured their argument around a main claim and two sub-claims of value before reinforcing these claims of value with supporting evidence of examples, expert testimony, and statistics. Today we will be discussing why the First Steps in Shutting Private Prisons is an effective editorial, as well as what they could do better. Firstly, what makes this a strong editorial is the variety of supporting evidence that is presented to reinforce the argument. An example of this is when the author uses the quote, "The top two private prison companies had $3.3 billion in revenue in 2014, an increase from $1.9 billion in 2006, to bolster his subclaim of, while privately run detention facilities were once seen as fiscally responsible, they are now growing acknowledgement that they are a national shame." The author uses statistics and supporting evidence like a proverbial lightning rod to ground his claim that private prisons are a national shame. The author does this multiple times throughout the editorial, making big claims, then grounding them with either statistics or expert testimony. Also, the New York Times editorial board does a phenomenal job at utilizing expert testimony to make the readers feel as though the author's opinion is the popular opinion of the issue. The author will state a claim of value that is perfectly his own, then have expert testimony as supporting evidence to further his claim, by claim that the reader gets a sense that these experts, as well as the author, are speaking to them personally. An example of this can be seen when the author claims that private prisons are notoriously violent and dysfunctional, operating even more opaquely than state-run facilities, which is quickly followed by the quote from the American Civil Liberties Union stating that the American Civil Liberties Union documented the hellish conditions for undocumented immigrants at several for-profit prisons in 2014. Is this constant reassurance that the author's stance anchors his point to the audience, providing nice digestible bites and keeping the audience in tune with his points. However, not everything they did was perfect. For example, the article failed to establish statistical evidence. A reader can come away from this article asking, if private detention facilities are so bad, then why did we initially use them and now continue to use them? A valid question is only half explained in the article itself when the New York Times editorial board explains the history behind the private prisons, but fails to mention the current reason why we still use them. I found the information elsewhere in a Time magazine article saying, federal prisons are still 20% over capacity. More statistical information is out there, and despite the space restraints held by the editorials, there is more room for facts. Secondly, nowhere in the entire article is there a claim of policy, telling the reader what should be done later. I would fix this by adding a link to either a petition or maybe a government website that allows the audience to email or at least get their voice out to public figures that can actually make a change. So the First Step in Shutting Private Prisons is a persuasive article that utilizes a great amount of supporting evidence to keep its large claims grounded and rational that readers can easily digest. However, this article does have room for improvement due to its lack of statistical supporting evidence, which was available upon a simple Google search, and it is inability to provide its readers a next step that has been inspired by the editorial. Easy changes that make a world of difference to the reader. I personally recommend that you give this editorial as well as the Time article a look, and I'll link them to you later. And then to conduct your own research on the topic itself, for it is very fascinating. My name is Tyler Bachmeyer. Thank you for listening.